later on. Okay, everybody, we are at the top of the hour, so let's go ahead and get this party started. Again, thank you all so very much for being here for our Monday night April edition of the ILCA 5-Day Challenge. My name is your Queen Connectress, Miss Marnita Casa, and I am your humble hostess for this evening. Now, it's my honor to introduce you all to a man that for over 25 years dominated the direct sales industry. His cryptocurrency education is being used by companies and universities worldwide. And for over 6 years, he dedicated his life to learning about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. But he didn't just stop there. He decided to go out, share that information with the masses. And he did this by putting on fun and exciting Bitcoin boot camps nationwide at no cost. He has built thriving communities and wonderful platforms like you see before you this evening. So without further ado, it is my honor to introduce you all to Mr. Brandon Ivey.
All right, all right. Thank you, Miss Casa, for that introduction, and welcome everybody. Miss Casa has been the host of the 5-Day Challenge now for almost 2.5 years since we first got started 2 years ago. So thank you for everything that you do, the backbone of ILCA in our community. And welcome everybody. This is a brand new 5-Day Challenge. Why? Because it is post-halving, like BCAD. And the Bitcoin halving happened last week. It was the first Bitcoin halving for many of you, but for the rest, this was my second Bitcoin halving, and a lot of people thought it was going to be like Y2K, that something explosive was supposed to go down afterwards. But we commemorate that date because it is rare, and it is something that is especially rare in the financial space. It's where by design, it is designed to make sure that the value of the currency itself always remains rare and goes up. Unlike fiat currency, where the government can just print more money whenever they want to, there's always going to be a dwindling supply of the amount of Bitcoin that is out there, and that's done on purpose. Now, last month, we covered every single day of the 5-Day Challenge was about the Bitcoin halving. Now that it has happened, it's like we reset the clock for the next one that's going to take place in 2028, somewhere around March 2028. So we're going to reset the clock as well, and we're going back to the basics because there's a lot of people that are now being exposed to Bitcoin and crypto for the very first time for, one, the hype of the Bitcoin halving, but two, because agencies like BlackRock, one of the largest investment firms or management firms on the planet with $10 trillion under management, is heavily investing in Bitcoin and was the first Bitcoin spot ETF approval with the SEC. And that is now bringing a lot of institutional investors and their businesses, which means their employees, their friends and families are all now hearing about this thing called Bitcoin. And they're all wondering, how do I get involved? What is it about? So this week, we are still fresh off of the 5-Day the Bitcoin halving from 5-Day Challenge last month. We're going to cover tonight and tomorrow. Tonight's going to be about what is cryptocurrency. Tomorrow, what is blockchain technology? But then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're going to cover the Bitcoin halving. We have a lineup of panelists this week. Well, we have Mr. Herschel Crow up tonight, Mr. Provis Lofties tomorrow, Professor Oscar Sistrunk on Wednesday. For the very first time to share his story will be Leonard Long on Thursday, and Marnita Casa with a special guest with her on Friday. So we got a good lineup this week for you guys to be able to learn from and hear about. So let's jump on to tonight. Tonight, we have a specialist that is our panelist tonight. A lot of you already know who he is, but for those of you who do not, this is a gentleman I have a lot of respect for, not just because he's made a lot of money in this space, but he's turned around and is helping a lot of people in this space from beginner to expert. He goes out of his way to make himself available, and he has patience, more patience than I do, to be able to hold people's hand one by one. He will hop on Zoom with you to show you how things are done. He leads by example. He has positioned himself in the 7-figure range in the crypto space, and he's got a great story to share. So leading us off our 5-Day Challenge tonight is one of the pillars of our community, Mr. Brother Herschel Crow. Herschel Crow, you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, Brandon?
Yes, sir. The ball's all yours.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. Listening to Brandon with his interlude, he said something, and I'm gonna grab it. I'm gonna run in that direction. But he said, "Back to the basics." It's interesting. Everybody in the crypto space either had or will have their day one or starting point. When they make a decision, whether it be calculated or whether it's just because they just happen to have a conversation with somebody and, buy something because they heard it at the water cooler at work or a news report or whatever the case may be. But everybody has that starting point. And at that starting point, you really don't know anything. You don't understand what's really going on in the crypto space. And what happens to a lot of people is, quite frankly, the same thing that happened to me. I'm no different than most of you. My starting point in the crypto space was in October of 2020. That's when I first started my journey, if you will. And that, in hindsight, now I didn't know this then, but in hindsight, the previous Bitcoin halving, prior to the one we just had last week, was in May of 2020. So a handful of months after the last halving is when I got into the crypto space. And at that point, I had absolutely no clue what crypto was, how it worked, or anything. All I knew was what I was seeing on YouTube from all these people talking about how they made some money, and here's where you can place your money or your crypto and make more crypto. And the numbers that I was seeing was so astronomical. I'm like, it captured my attention, and I went down that rabbit hole of, wait a minute, if this guy or if this lady can actually make that kind of money that fast, I know I can. That was the mindset or the mentality that I had. I even went so far as to, over time, and I'm gonna go forward and come back, but even during that time, I literally would do what in my corporate experience, what we used to call whale hunting. I would go out, find these people on YouTube that was actually making the money and figure out how I could actually get to talk to them directly or personally to find out, okay, how I can get involved in whatever it is that they were doing. Coming back to real time now, most of those people that I talked to back then that was making a lot of money, many of them aren't even in crypto at all today. And you would scratch your head and make you say, why not? If they were making all this money, why not? It's because they were getting caught up in several things. One, hype. They were getting into crypto platforms that really had nothing to do with crypto at all. They were platforms that were allowing individuals to deposit funds or assets into their platform and withdraw in crypto. So depositing crypto, withdrawing crypto, but in the middle, it really had nothing to do with crypto at all. But crypto allowed these platforms to obfuscate the use of fiat currency, quote unquote, keeping it legal. And that's how a lot of people in the crypto space have actually made their money. The problem with that is, we all hear the terms Ponzi schemes or scams or rug pulls or whatever the case is, and somebody will always win. Somebody will always win, but there's always more people that lose than it is that actually win. And when I came into the space, I followed suit, just like everybody else. Listening, seeing people making money, I want to do that too. However, it didn't take long. Fortunately for me, in the beginning, I was still kind of relatively conservative. So I never lost a whole lot of money in any one project, thankfully. But I saw so many people fall by the wayside by investing, thinking that they're going to hit the lottery tomorrow and, you know, go and live on an island somewhere and kick their heels up and make YouTube videos like all the other people that that we were seeing. And after about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months in the space, beginning of 2021, we started really seeing, at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, we actually started seeing the real crypto markets really moving. And I started investing in coins. Again, no education, just seeing charts, hearing the news and people talking about this coin and that coin. And I would take my little money, buy crypto or whatever the case is. You know, fortunately, I'd had some experience trading in the Forex markets. So I understood, you know, utilizing an exchange and, you know, reading charts and all that kind of stuff. But what I didn't know that didn't correlate with my Forex experience was the concept of when you buy a crypto asset, you actually own that asset. See, I was used to just investing in the foreign markets and basically hedging on whether or not the price was going to go up or the price was going to go down. But when I started, you know, investing in coins in the crypto space, when you bought it, you bought it at, just like buying a house. You buy it at a certain price, and either the market's going to go up in value, or the market's going to go down in value. You can't make money in both directions. Spot trading, well, we won't go into the fact that you can, but we'll leave that out. But just normal buying a coin, when you buy it, the only way to make a profit is for the price of it to go up. And that kind of leads me to where I'm about to go with the one thing, and I always say this, I'm jealous of those individuals that are on here tonight for the very first time, that's just now getting started in the crypto space. From a timing perspective, I don't know if there has ever been, unless you just bought Bitcoin, you know, when it first came out back in 2009 or what have you, I don't know that the future has ever been brighter for a person just getting started than after this past Bitcoin halving. Because it's like right now, it's like the quiet before the storm. And if you're able to do what Brandon always says, and first of all, let me congratulate you for being here right now, because education is the first step, period. I don't care what anybody says, because most of us is not going to just get lucky and pick the right winning horse out the gate. Can it happen? Yes. Average person is just not going to happen. But as a beginner, learning the basics is key. If I'd have just had the basics at this point, back in 2020, man, I wouldn't know Brandon. I'll just tell you that. We wouldn't even know each other, because I would have been making money hand over fist just because of the knowledge. The lack of knowledge cost me more than if I had paid for some education. Hands down, no questions asked. Here are a few things, and there's no way I can go through them all, but here are some of the basic things that I feel like everybody needs to know, whether you're new or whether you've been in the space for a while. If you're listening right now, and if I name one of these and you really can't turn around and explain it to someone else, there's additional education. There's still room for more education. Let me put it that way. if it's difficult for you to actually explain to another person that doesn't know anything about cryptocurrency, can you tell them what a blockchain actually is? So if you can't explain what a blockchain is, Brandon's going to help you with that tonight. Can you tell somebody, literally explain what cryptocurrency is and where does it come from? Can you explain what the difference between a coin and a token actually is? And this next one is one that I believe will increase your income if you don't already know it, if you figure out what it is. But what actually gives a coin or a token its value? How does it get its value? Because if you understand how it gets its value, it makes it a lot easier for you to extract value from it. But you got to know how the value is created to make it make sense as to when you buy it or if you buy it. Can you explain to someone what an exchange is? If you don't know what an exchange is, you definitely need to know that. What is it used for? And most importantly, do you know how to use one? Because if you know what it is, but you don't know how to use it, it doesn't help you knowing what it is. You have to know how to use it. For you new people, what is a wallet? What is it used for? And how do you use that? You got to know how to use it. What is the difference between a centralized platform or ecosystem and a decentralized platform or ecosystem? And what are the pros and cons of each? Because there's pros and cons for both of them. We need them both. They both serve a tremendous benefit and have a true purpose. Now, those are just some of the basics. But just knowing those things from the people that I talk to on a daily basis, the vast majority of them don't have the answer to those questions or understand how to explain or use those things. By closing that gap will increase your income, hands down, if you know that information. So that's just a few basics. Now, once you get started in this space, and again, I'm not a financial advisor and I'm not trying to, lead anybody down any one particular path, but these are just basics, just like tying your shoe type stuff in the crypto space. You got to know that in order to invest safely. Let's just put it that way. Now, one thing that I also have noticed that I did not have in the very beginning, I was investing in things or getting into programs and platforms and things of that nature, just throwing stuff up against the wall because it sounded good. I did not have any set goals of what it was that I wanted to make, what I was trying to accomplish or do in the crypto space. I'm just running like a chicken with his head cut off because somebody said they made some money over here. Let me get over there and see if I can pull some from there. Let me go over here and see if I can pull some from here. Just all over the place with no actual goals set in place. And everybody is going to have different goals. Everybody has different amounts of money that they can invest with. And one of the things that, it's not just in crypto, but just plagues our society as a whole today is the fact that we all have a microwave mentality. We all want to make money right now. We don't want to work for it. We want to get paid right now, doing as little as humanly possible and just hope it shows up, but then get mad if we lose it and want to blame someone else. When deep down inside, we know we didn't do the research. And research is not listening to a presentation about someone sharing their thoughts about a particular platform or program, or giving their opinion on a particular platform or program. When it comes to looking at anything in or out of the crypto space, and I say this all the time, if it does not have a product, if it does not provide a service or give some type of a solution that people either need or want in large numbers, there is no way, think about it, there is absolutely no way that it can increase in value and be sustainable, because there's no reason for anybody to bring outside money into it, not looking for a return, a profitable return on their end. There has to be a product, service, or solution, something that's being consumed or subscribed to or utilized, a tool that's being utilized that has a person needing it or wanting it, and consistently using their assets to gain access to it in order for the holders of that coin that's associated with it to increase in value over time. That is one major differentiating factor that would really wipe away, my percentage may be high, but I'm going to say 85% of the things that any of us could name that has been here, that's fallen by the wayside and that's gone, that, you know, people hyped up at one point in time or another, I'm willing to bet you you would be hard pressed to go back and find a product, service, or a solution that people needed or wanted in large numbers. Because if it did, it would still be here in most cases. So that is something that I definitely encourage you to start trying to evaluate and look at as or researching different investment opportunities for you and get those questions answered. There is always another opportunity. Don't let anybody, I don't care who it is, don't let anybody encourage you, entice you to jump on or in a program or platform or investment that you don't understand. Don't put your money in it if you don't understand what it is and how the revenue is generated in order for you to get a return. That is another major occurrence in the crypto space. Follow the leader. But you know, they always say it's okay to be a copycat as long as you copy the right cat. But if you know how to research and you know how to set goals and you know what it is that you're looking for, you become the cat. And it also helps this next thing. It helps you determine how much of your money you're going to put into any one program or any one project or coin or whatever the case may be. Because another thing that most people do, and I don't care how many times you say it, how many different ways you say it, it still ends up happening. You always hear, never invest more than you can comfortably afford to lose. How do you determine what it is that you can comfortably afford to lose? Here's my litmus test. if I can lose it and don't care, if I can lose it and not complain about it, if I can lose it and keep going, trying to find the next one, that's what comfortably afford to lose means, in my opinion. Given that, let's go back to the microwave mentality. Most of us don't have patience. So we compensate for the lack of patience with investing more than we can comfortably afford to lose. But if we can have some patience, our education plus patience equals profits. Brandon, I'm gonna leave it there because I know you got a lot of education to bring tonight, but I just want to let especially any new people that are on here tonight know that from a timing perspective, you are in a position that I wish I was in when I first got started in the crypto space. I truly believe that the markets are really going to soar over the course of the next 18 to 24 months. And you have time to get educated, learn the basics, get your wallets set up, learn how to use your wallets, your exchanges, with the difference between the blockchains and the tokens and the coins that operate on each blockchain. Some of this may sound like Greek right now, but I promise you, when it doesn't sound like Greek anymore, you're positioned to win. And I always say that. And the reason why is because I need it, I want it, and I deserve it. Give me that. Back to you, brother.
All right. Give it up to Mr. Crow. Excellent information, and we're bringing it back to the basics, like he said, and that's what we're getting started for. And he's right about that. Education is key. Education is everything. It will allow you to be able to find the right opportunities that fit you, for you, and not you following or listening to what somebody else has to say and what they're doing, because what they're doing may be good for them, but it may not be good for you. And your education will let you know that. I have a heavy heart right now, so bear with me as because I just got news, and pray for my family. One of my younger cousins just had a stroke and a major heart attack back to back, and he's only 28 years old. I don't have any other details yet, but just keep our family in prayers. And it just reminds us we got to make sure we're taking care of our health and we know what's going on with us, and that he just got married last year. So to know, you never know what's going on. So always get yourselves checked out and make sure you are, everything is taken care of. So, but we're going to go back to basics tonight. And I am streaming live on Facebook. So those of you on Facebook, I have a tradition on Mondays to leave it open, and I don't just stream in our Facebook group, but I stream everywhere in all the Facebook channels at the same time. And on Monday nights, I will leave the stream open when we do Q&A, but only the VIPs that you see on here with us right now are able to ask questions and go through it. So let's go back to basics, and I'm excited for this. This always gets me hyped because I have not done this lesson in a couple of months. So let's take it back to the beginning. How do cryptocurrencies even work? So what Herschel was talking about. Most people's first entrance into crypto is because of an opportunity, and they have no idea what it is they're getting involved in. I remember the first time I heard about Bitcoin and crypto was because friends of mine were making millions of dollars in crypto programs. Back in 2016, 2017, they were either mining or some form of trading or getting involved in ICOs. And I was like, how does this thing called Bitcoin work? And they couldn't answer the question. I said, tell me about it. The only thing they could tell me is that, well, Bitcoin keeps going up. I mean, it came out like a couple of years ago and it was cheap, and now it's expensive. And I was like, well, not everything just keeps going up. It's got to come down. And then I don't know, it just keeps going up. And so unfortunately, there was no ILCA in those days or any type of crypto education courses to teach me. I had to go to YouTube. And I still, it's funny, I still hear people say now, Brandon, why should I get your crypto education? I'll just go to YouTube. And I'm like, yeah, you do that because I did. I spent 6 months teaching myself only to realize that 50% of the information was wrong. The other 50% was outdated. So when people say, Brandon, are you a crypto expert? The answer is no. Am I crypto versed? The answer is yes. Why am I not an expert? Because every single day it changes. There's something new that's being added. So I need to always be informed and up to date on what's going on. Just like when you're in school and you look at your book and there's got different additions to it, every decade or so they got to upgrade it. Well, that's what I had to do. But that's also what I do at ILCA. The courses that I create every 6 months to a year, I got to go back through them and update. But when we go back to the basics are the basics. That's the information that doesn't change. What does change is your personal experience. And so even for those of you in ILCA that might have saw this less than 2 years ago, by you seeing it now, you have new experiences and it's going to hit you differently than it did the first time you saw it. So how do cryptocurrencies work? Well, when I first saw Bitcoin, I thought it was nothing but monopoly money being used by nerds who live in their mom's basement playing World of Warcraft all day long. That's what I thought it was. I first heard of Bitcoin in 2010. Didn't do anything about it. I heard about it again, 2012. Didn't do anything about it. 2014, I started posting about it because a business partner of mine in Japan made national news because her restaurant was the first to have a Bitcoin ATM machine. And I was congratulating her. 2014, I didn't buy any Bitcoin. 2016, I finally bought Bitcoin for the first time, and I bought 3 of them. You know what the price of it was? What are we looking at right now, the price of Bitcoin? 64 something thousand dollars right now today? 2016, I bought 3 Bitcoin for $640 each. I wish I could have that time machine. Knowing what I know now, going back in time, no, Herschel wouldn't know me. Well, he wouldn't be here, but I would be with him on a beach somewhere. Knowing what I know now, I bought 3 Bitcoin for $640. 3 months later, and I forgot I even had it. 3 months later, December, I sold those 3 Bitcoin for Christmas presents for $870 a piece. And I thought I was a genius. I'm like, see, I don't need to know about this Bitcoin thing. I just flipped it and made some money. I don't even know about it. There's nothing to this. Exactly 1 year later, December 2017, Bitcoin got up to $20,000 a coin. A year before that, I had my hand on 3. Today, Bitcoin reached, or this year, Bitcoin reached over $74,000 a coin. At one point, I had my hand on 3. Crazy. But to understand Bitcoin, you need to understand the evolution of money. And school doesn't teach you about money. School teaches you how to be a slave to money. It doesn't teach you what money actually is and how it works. In the very early days, people exchanged value via a barter system of trading goods, followed by the development of commodity, which is money, silver and gold coins, as they were easy to carry and divide and had a level of scarcity that provided value. With the rise of banking arose a debt-based system where we deposited gold with the bank, and they issued us a piece of paper representing how much gold we had with the bank. After all, it's much easier to carry around paper bills than a bag of gold. In 1971, President Nixon abolished the gold standard, ending the ability for people to redeem US dollars for gold at the Federal Reserve, allowing the government full autonomy to freely print money, thus making the US dollar a fiat currency. And fiat is Latin for "it shall be." Fiat currencies, which are now commonplace around the world, are not backed by tangible assets, only the promise from a government. Unfortunately, this led to currency manipulation and devaluation by governments to erode massive federal deficits at the expense of the consumer. Say bye-bye to the gold standard. You know, when I was talking with my brother for the very first time about Bitcoin and crypto, he was asking me some questions and he didn't understand the difference. He thought Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is the same thing, or blockchain technology is the same thing. And I said, no, it's not the same thing. He said, crypto, what is that, like kryptonite? And I said, no. And he said, well, there's nothing backing Bitcoin. At least money is backed by gold. My brother was born in 1978. We're 17 months apart. He has a doctorate degree. He's Dr. Ivey. He's educated. He understands, well, I thought, money to an extent. He's made a lot of money. He lives in a multi-million-dollar home. He's vacationing in St. John's right now. Since I got my iPhone, he has one. I can pull it up and on the map and I see exactly where he's at, sitting on the beach. I said, Devin, the money hasn't been on the gold standard in your entire life. You see, the dollar has lost 90% of its purchasing power since the mid-20th century as a result of inflation. This is why many financial planners stress investing in assets like stocks, gold, real estate, rather than holding cash to preserve the growth and grow wealth, given fiat loses its store of value over time. I mean, you know it right now. Go to the grocery store with $20 and what are you going to get? That same $20 in the 90s? Hell, I remember being able to go a week with less than $20 and be good. I remember in Atlanta, Georgia, the ATM machine, we were able to get money $5 from the ATM machine. $5. And that got us somewhere. What's $5 going to get you now? Not much. But it's a slow burn on us. We don't realize that it's losing value. And why? Well, it's important to understand that the US dollar, yes, it is the best transactional currency in the world, but it's losing value every single day. For a long time, gold has been considered the ultimate store of value. Now people are turning to cryptocurrencies as they are more secure, easier to store and transport, cheaper to use, and easier to subdivide than any asset known today. It is disrupting the international payments and transfers business by cutting out the exorbitant fees of banks, the middleman, the global remittance market, people working in one country and sending money back home to their families, as well as becoming the currency of the internet and fueling a new wave of global e-commerce. Oh, wow. Yes, right. $5 not even going to give you, back then, 99 cents was full tank, was gas. Those days, I was not ashamed to be at the counter with maybe $2 and some change for my gas. No shame. Now they look at me like I was crazy if I try something like that. The basic concept, oh, let me not forget that to say this, that in 1971, the US dollar was removed from the gold standard. It was one of the most highway robberies of financial theft in modern history that was legal to do. See, because 30, 40 years before that, the government in the task of war and the New Deal had all Americans turn in our gold, and they gave us a piece of paper that said backed by gold, a gold denominated dollar. And then by the swift of a signature in 1971, the government took the paper money you had off the gold standard. But did they give you back your gold? Nope. They took the gold and they gave you some toilet paper and they can print more of it whenever they feel like it. And the people didn't riot over that. Why they didn't riot over it? Because they didn't understand money in the first place, because the educational system created by the same government isn't teaching the people that. Man. The basic concept, cryptocurrency is roughly the equivalent of using PayPal or a debit card, except the numbers on the screen represent cryptocurrency instead of a fiat currency like a dollar. All you really need to do is set up an account with a crypto exchange service like Coinbase, use your fiat money from your bank, and purchase crypto. To use cryptocurrency, you don't need to understand it any more than you need to understand the monetary system to use a credit card. However, if you want to understand cryptocurrency, you need to understand the concept of digital currency, the concept of blockchain, both a ledger of transactions and a technology, and the concept of cryptography. After all, cryptocurrency is a digital currency where transactions are recorded on a digital ledger called a blockchain, and every process along the way is secured by cryptography. I just gave myself an idea. I'm going to do a controversial Facebook Live, and I'm going to call it "You're All Still Slaves." Yeah, I'm gonna do something like that. You're still a slave, or you're not still a slave. You are a slave. It has nothing to do with your color of your skin or your race. It's a class-based system that's been programmed that way from you being birthed to be a slave. You don't even know it. In simple terms, cryptocurrency works a lot like bank credit on a debit card. In both cases, a complex system that issues currency and records transactions and balances, works behind the scenes to allow people to send and receive currency electronically. The main difference between cryptocurrency and bank credit is that instead of banks and governments issuing the currency and keeping ledgers, an algorithm does. Is there interest? There is tremendous interest in the cryptocurrency space right now, in equal parts confusion, uncertainty, and doubt. Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, ICO, smart contracts, DeFi, NFTs, and the metaverse. We hear these terms, but what do they even mean? The natural response to these foreign concepts is usually skepticism and rejection. But beneath the jargon lies a powerful new technology revamping our financial system. Bitcoin started as an experiment in the depths of the global financial crisis of 2008, aiming to build a better financial system. Early on, cryptocurrencies developed a seedy undertone, as they were mainly associated with black market trades, ransomware payments, money laundering, and tax evasion. Cryptocurrency has been described as the most disruptive technology since the internet. Now, what does that mean? If you go back to the 90s, when the internet first was starting to form and become mainstream, there were critics out there who said the internet was nothing, who made fun of the internet. Somebody like David Letterman, who brought Bill Gates on his show to make fun of him. The Today Show saying, what is email? What does that even mean? Nobody's going to use that. There's no need for it. Knowing what you know now about the internet, would you do some things differently in the 90s when it came to your money? I was too young at the time. There wasn't much I could do. But I wish my father knew and understood it, because he could have made a move. What I realized about blockchain when I had to teach myself is that blockchain technology is going to disrupt every single industry on the planet. It's going to change our way of life. Whether you like it or not, believe it or not, trust it or not, your opinion of it is irrelevant. I don't care what you have to say about it. I don't care if you understand it or not. You don't have a say-so in this. You're going to be driving down the street and see Bitcoin ATMs everywhere. You're going to go into Starbucks to get a cup of coffee. We now accept crypto. Or better yet, they're going to say you need to have a CBDC. You're not even going to know what that is, right? Your paycheck that you get twice a month. And they're going to say you need a crypto wallet because we're going to pay you in crypto. They're going to say you need to go back to school to learn skills because we're integrating blockchain technology and we're accepting payments in crypto. So whether you like it or not, you will be involved. Only right now, you have the distinct opportunity to dictate how you're going to be involved in this space. Are you going to let it roll over you, or will you position yourself to profit from it? Because I learned the second thing at the same time, that cryptocurrency represents the greatest economic shift in wealth in the history of mankind for the most amount of people. And all you need is one of these. This is all you need to get started. Access to the internet and a willingness to learn. And so congratulations that you are taking time out of your schedule to be here tonight, because you have a willingness to learn. Bitcoin started off as an experiment. What happened in 2008? The greatest recession since the Great Depression is what they call it. Businesses bailed out. They bailed out these businesses with your taxpayer money. But none of you got bailed out. Now, cryptocurrency is a digital currency that doesn't rely on a central bank or trusted third parties to verify transactions and create new currency units. Instead, it uses cryptography to confirm transactions on a publicly distributed ledger called a blockchain. Where I had a receipt just here. Where's the receipt? Throw it out. Blockchain is a receipt. If you don't understand what a ledger is, if you do a transaction, it's got to be recorded somewhere. So when you go to the store and you buy something, they ask you for your receipt if you want to have it or not. Also, and I teach my boys this. When they ask you if you want your receipt, always say yes. My father taught me that one for self, especially when I went to college. When they say, you're going to the South, I'm from California. Ask for that receipt so that if you are ever challenged or questioned if you stole something, you can pull out your receipt and you can prove that you own it. I have to teach my sons that now, because unfortunately there is profile that goes on. But that receipt is a ledger. I just bought a brand new car. And this is the receipt I have. They gave me this receipt. And all this paperwork, when it comes down to, I think it's this. This is technically the receipt. You know, you get the registration and you get the pink slip and the DMV forms and the new VIN number. That's a receipt. Now, who has a copy of this? I do, the dealership does, and DMV. Nowhere else. Now, if I were to lose my pink slip, or the deed, or what I call it, I'd have to pay to get a digital copy of it. Well, the way the blockchain works is that receipt is now on the network and everybody sees it. There is no dispute over, am I the owner or not? The copy is now on the net, on the blockchain. There are thousands of different cryptocurrencies in circulation, each with varying values. The first crypto, Bitcoin, was developed in 2009 by a programmer using the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. In a 2008 white paper entitled A Peer-to-Peer Electronic Cash System, Nakamoto provides the first description of blockchain. Blockchain is the technology that enables crypto to work like government-issued fiat currencies without the involvement of any central bank or trusted third party. Transactions are sent between peers from crypto wallets by matching up public codes, which relate back to user-held private passwords, aka cryptographic keys. Transactions made between peers are recorded on a public ledger of transactions called a blockchain. All users of a given crypto have access to the ledger if they choose to download a full node, which is a wallet, as opposed to holding their coins in a third-party wallet like Coinbase. The transaction amounts are public, but who sent the transaction is encrypted. Each transaction leads back to a digital cryptocurrency wallet. Whoever owns the password or key to the wallet owns the amount of cryptocurrency denoted on the ledger. So let me ask you guys another question. When you get paid, and most of you get paid through direct deposit straight to your bank, some of you may get a check and you decide to take that check to the bank. It's rare that you're getting paid for your work if you have a 9-to-5 job in cash. That's we call that under the table money. If they're giving you cash, you might, hey, wait, hey, buddy, hey, are you legitimate? I mean, you're my employee, but you're paying me in cash? Well, what's up with that? Nobody's doing that anymore. But who owns your money now? Do you? Or does the bank? The bank can do whatever they want with your money now. By law, they only need to keep 10% of your cash on hand. By law. But you don't own the private key. My grandpa said, if the cash is not in my hand, I don't have the money. That's how he didn't trust banks back in the day. If the cash is not in my hand, I don't own the money. But you have to say the same mindset when it comes to crypto. And you'll learn this in our training, that exchanges own your coin. You may have access to it until they decide you don't. But your private key is what gives you access to your crypto, just like your home. How do you get into your home? You have a key to your home. How do you open up your car door? You have a key. How do you get to your crypto vault? You have a key. Bitcoin is digital money that is not used or controlled by anyone. I'm sorry, that is not issued or controlled by anyone. The US dollar is issued by the Federal Reserve. That's not even an elected force. And they can print out and raise interest rates and do whatever they want with the money. It is used to securely store and transfer any amount of value anywhere in the world, whereas Bitcoin, for example, is not issued or controlled by anyone or a central source. It is open source. It is decentralized. It is used to buy goods and services, store wealth, or send value to anyone without the permission of a third party. When you understand what money really is, you understand that it's all about the value. Money is resources, it's energy that has value to it. And what gives it value? Whatever somebody else is willing to say it's worth. So when you hear people say, Bitcoin's not backed by anything, really? George Bush said, hey, you guys, don't panic. Trust the government. Because your money is only backed by trust. Because somebody else is willing to buy it from you or barter you with it. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is not built on trust. It's actually built by work. Bitcoin is not created out of thin air. We'll talk about this tomorrow when we talk about what is blockchain technology. Bitcoin is a reward for people building the blockchain. You don't get the Bitcoin first and then build the blockchain. They got to build the blockchain first, and the reward is Bitcoin, which is why we just had this halving and why that's significant, because the amount of reward has now decreased. And when you have a decrease in supply, but an increase in demand, then the value goes up. So even though the amount of Bitcoin release has lessened, it's worth more, or it will be, as Mr. Crow said, over the next 18 months. Unlike physical gold, Bitcoin is cheaper, faster, and more efficient. How many people, even if you're a gold bug, is walking around with a wheelbarrow full of gold into the grocery store? Doesn't work that way. That's what you would call an illiquid asset. Bitcoin is divisible to the 8th decimal place and is completely digital. Let me inform you of something else you're going to be learning about. Remember, as kids, we learned about coins, right? Quarters and nickels and dimes. And if you have 2 dimes, what does that equal? If you have 2 dimes and a nickel, isn't that the same as having a quarter, one of these? You learn about that in school. They're going to have to learn about something called Satoshis. Because after the next Bitcoin halving in 2008, it will be an ultra rare event for you to ever run into somebody that owns one whole Bitcoin or any transactions to happen. It's all going to be in pieces, and the pieces is called Satoshis. So get ready for that. So opposed government fiat currencies which can be manipulated and devalued, there is a finite supply of only 21 million Bitcoins, making it a scarce and valuable asset. Think about gold. What makes gold so valuable? It's scarce. It's not abundant. Bitcoin is the internet of money and will do for fiat for finance what the internet did for communication. And we already know the internet changed the world. Turn off your Wi-Fi for 5 minutes and watch what your kids do. I messed with them the other day just to see what happened. And they didn't realize it, but I was on my computer and I was playing one of my recorded videos, but I unplugged the Wi-Fi. And 3 to 5 minutes, my youngest son comes in and I see what he does. He glances at me and he sees I'm still on my computer working. So he's like, oh, if dad is still working, the internet must be working. So something's wrong with my computer. Then he leaves. 2 minutes later, my other son comes in and he looks. Then my wife comes in. I told her I'm just resetting it. She says, oh, okay. But I didn't tell them that. Then the youngest son comes back. He's like, you're on the internet? How come you're on the internet? I can't get on the internet. I said, I don't know. I just wanted to see what he'd do. And he started, it took maybe up to 10 minutes after him troubleshooting on his computer to figure out why there's no service. So he looks at the Wi-Fi, he's like, hey, this is turned off. And I just started laughing. But he couldn't handle 5 minutes without Wi-Fi. It's crazy. I remember what life was like without the internet. Playing outside until the streetlights came on. Not having a cell phone where my parents have GPS me tagged. I can go hours of the day and my parents have absolutely no idea where I'm at. Can you imagine that with your kids right now? We got them GPS tagged. We got to be outside with them while they're outside playing. But it's a different world today than it was back then as well. So if you see how far the internet has changed, that's nothing compared to what this technology is going to do in our future. And I'm not talking about 10, 20 years from now. Like Back to the Future. You realize they went to the future in 2015. That was 9 years ago. You realize this year, this is when Jack Reese from the Terminator went back to 1984, 40 years ago. We are there right now. And what's interesting about that is Skynet. Is there a Skynet around right now? Well, you guys in my inner circle, you heard us talking about WorldCoin and what they're doing. But the future is upon us. But we're not going to wait 30 to 40 years like we did in the 80s. I'm talking in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see a drastic change in evolution in society. So how does it work? The Bitcoin network is a peer-to-peer network that runs on a decentralized, distributed, self-clearing ledger called the blockchain. Units of currency that run on the Bitcoin network are called Bitcoins, which are used to store and transmit value among network participants. I'm buzzing right now. I want to talk about the river of money so bad, but this week, we are tied up this week. I got to figure out when, but I got to get back in this zone to do that. How can I capitalize on this? But unlike most currencies issued by central banks, which can be devalued and manipulated, Bitcoins are issued according to a fixed set of rules to create sound money that can't be manipulated by a central authority or a malicious actor. Users can buy or sell goods and services, send money to people or organizations, or even extend credit in a fast, secure, and borderless manner. The only prerequisite for access to these coins is an internet connection and a private key that forms a pair with public-facing keys to provide access to the coins stored on the Bitcoin network. Unauthorized access to someone's private key is similar to stealing gold from their vault. Now, what is Bitcoin's core value proposition? One of the first things that people think about when they learn about Bitcoin is payments. Every financial transaction we make, either with Venmo or our banks, has at least one intermediary that sits in the middle and takes a little cut. That's big business. That's an entire industry that is going to be wiped out by this, which you may understand there's going to be critics that want to prevent that from happening. Which is why you see Larry Fink bouncing off the walls, because he's like, we now can eliminate the middleman and I can go directly to the customer, which is is their wet dream. That's what they want. There's about about 1 billion people in the world that are unbanked, don't have access to a bank. And if you don't have access to a bank account, you are locked out from wealth building, wealth generation. You're not going to be able to get a business loan or start a business or be able to own property or be able to set up grants for yourself or trust for your family. But that doesn't mean those people that are unbanked don't have money. They do. They are operating outside the system. Now, for the first time, this technology is bringing them into the fold. What if we could transact with one another in a peer-to-peer way without needing permission? All we need is an internet connection, and we can send money to anyone without anyone's permission in the same way that the internet allows us to send information. And before you say, well, that's still illegal, Bitcoin's illegal, really? Then why is the IRS taxing you on it? I'll tell you this, if you want to know if this is real or not, let's look at the underworld. People go, oh, it's only used for criminals. But then that means it's real. Have you ever seen a drug deal done with Monopoly money? Is a stripper going to take Monopoly dollars? I say that because it's in the news right now with the president. That's not going to happen. There's value to it. Tell someone you're going to give them, okay, I got a sideboard because this is kind of funny. When I was in college and Spelman was putting on a party in Lower Manly dorm. By the way, this is not Black History Month time, but I'll tell the story anyway. They were putting on a party, and this is called a dollar party because they were raising funds for something they were doing. It only cost $1 to get in. We were broke. So we figured, how are we going to get into this party? Do you know what we did? We took, I'm ashamed to say this, but we did this. We took cups and we had 100 pennies in the cups. And we were in line. And when it was our turn to go in, they were like $1. We put the cups right there of the pennies. And I remember the girls looked at us like, you've got to be effing kidding me. Are you serious? They looked at us like that. And my partner, with a straight look on his face, his name was John Yates from Mobile, Alabama. His daddy's a preacher. He's a PK kid. He looked at her and said, girl, that's money. You said $1. You didn't say how I had to give you the $1. That's money. You better take those pennies. And the funny thing is, as mad as she was, she emptied it out and she said, all right, you want to play that game? She counted every single one and one had 99 pennies. She said, unless you give me them 2 pennies, you're not getting in. We did some dumb stuff. Anyways, my point is, it doesn't matter how it comes. It has value to it. Money can come in many different forms. Billionaires do not have $1 billion in cash, but they're worth $1 billion. Where's that money? It's in illiquid assets. It's in property. It's in art. It's in precious metals. It's in investments. It's in stocks. That's still value. That's still money. Bitcoin is just another form of that. I hope me saying it that way makes sense to somebody. Philosophically, Bitcoin assures that the money you have earned is yours and enforces the idea that you can truly own your wealth. If my brother Lamar was on here, Lamar is watching. Lamar, were you with us that night? You remember when we took pennies up to that Lower Manly party? We still talk about that from time to time. Anyways, payments and being a medium of exchange is an important part of Bitcoin's value proposition, but it's not the only part. Bitcoin is a highly censorship resistant and permissionless store of value. Using the Swiss bank account analogy, there is about $20 trillion worth of wealth in the world stored in offshore bank accounts and shell companies by major companies and many individuals. This is not illegal. Rather, it's to lawfully shield those assets from creditors, taxation, legal jurisdictions, or even corruption. Bitcoin and other crypto assets fulfill this void, and many others to a much greater extent, as the first uncensorable and unseizable asset in history. Whoa, wait, unseizable, what do you mean? Well, let's think about that. If you have a bank account right now, can the government freeze your bank account? If you have been late on your child support payments, can the government seize your money, seize your assets? They can't seize your crypto unless you give them or they find your private key. It's unseizable. This is where the controversy over CBDC comes in. Because if we move to a completely cashless society using government money, the government can freeze your account and come up with whatever reason they want. What recourse do you have? So why you should own Bitcoin? You may want to own some Bitcoin for the same reasons why you should invest in anything, to maintain or increase your standard of living over time. This is especially important in the face of inflationary pressures and the fact that fiat currencies are a terrible store of value. Owning Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency is a choice. That is why we are here to educate you so you can make an informed decision. Everyone should build a diversified portfolio to secure their financial futures and enable them to achieve what they want most in life. Crypto assets could play an important role in that, as many believe Bitcoin and blockchain-based assets are one of the greatest technological innovations and will represent the greatest wealth creation event of our time. Are you going to be a witness of it? Like those who say, I witnessed when the Hindenburg went down. I witnessed the gold rush. I witnessed the Titanic. I witnessed when man walked on the moon. I witnessed when the internet first came about. I was in the room when people were investing in Microsoft. Did you? Will you be a witness to this time in history? Or will you be like what Larry Fink is saying? We're going to lead the way. The choice is yours. In 2009, Bitcoin was worth less than a penny from the US dollar. Today, Bitcoin is not worth $35,000. It's double that. So the last time I did this lesson, Bitcoin was at $35,000. Yeah, January. Oh, man. It's double that now. It may be the time that you make the choice. As a disclaimer, this information is intended for educational and training purposes only and should not be construed as investment advice. As with all financial decisions, you should contact your licensed financial advisor before investing in any financial instrument. Like I said, I am buzzing right now. I literally want to explode with information. When we have our next ILCA event somewhere, I'm gonna pull a, I don't want to call it an all-nighter, but like a late night lesson. You know, like the type when guys are in that smoke-filled room with a cigar and a glass of wine or bottles of it. Some people might be smoking weed. I don't smoke weed. I've never smoked weed. I got contact high because I went to Morehouse. But that type of environment where we're just spitting facts and information, I'm going to do one of those. And I'm going to go into a zone and just let it out. Some of you understand what I'm talking about. Anyways, that is the end of our night one of our 5-day challenge. I hope you learned something new. As always, that's the point. I remember my first fireside chat, like Provis said, was Dr. Nelson and Mike Ashby and Doc Lee. And it began at midnight and didn't end till like 3 or 4 in the morning. and oh, my head was, and I wasn't even supposed to be in the room. I snuck in, and they just didn't. It was only for the elite, and I wasn't qualified, but I found my way in there that night. Anyways, I am not going to close the Facebook. We're going to go into Q&A right now, and I'm going to allow you guys to witness this. Tomorrow night, I won't be streaming on all the Facebook channels. It will only be in the 5-day challenge group. So if you're watching from on Facebook and you want to at least be on that, you got to go to ilcachallenge.com and register so that you will get the invite to our private Facebook group so that you can see this. There's no cost of that. However, if you want to be able to ask questions and be with the cool kids on Zoom, like we are right now, then you definitely want to be a VIP member. It's a one-time cost of $97, and you will be a part of our VIPs on the 5-day challenge, and not just this one, but for the rest of the year on all of them. And I've got some big plans and big announcements coming up in the future, so that you guys definitely want to be a part of all of that. Now, with that, I want to turn it over to Ms. Casa to handle our Q&A. So Marnita, call's all yours.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, powerful. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Crow. Every time you come, you set everything on fire. That was phenomenal. And of course, Mr. Ivey, you already know you always come with the best information. I have to say, going back over the basics, I have a chance to see how powerful blockchain is. Every time we hear it more and the more that I'm into it, this was good. Okay, so sorry about that, you guys. All right, we have 3 things that we ask of you. The first one is please do not unmute until you are called upon. The second one is we do ask for only 2 questions unless there is time for more. And the third one is there are no silly questions or aha moments. So if you have either one, raise your hand and I will call on you. Okay, I guess you guys did a phenomenal job.
So you just unmuted me. You didn't have you spared me the from having to find the button to press to raise my hand. I always wait for somebody else, you know, and be courteous. So I love, like Marnita said, going back to the basics. I wrote in my book today, it's like, I'm going to learn something new this week. Each day, as we go over everything I wrote in here, I'm going to learn something new and implement it. So I'll start with you, Mr. Crow. Thank you, because I forgot. I mean, I know that it's never invest money you can't afford to comfortably lose. I love that. But one thing you said was, as part of our goals is that we have to determine how much we're going to put into a project. And that's something I haven't always done. Sometimes a project might have a specific amount, but sometimes I might put in extra than I had intended on. So if I go back to that and make that a goal, I like that. The next thing I was going to ask you both is, with Bitcoin being the first cryptocurrency that we know of, do you think that there is an existing token or coin that could be the next Bitcoin? You don't have to say what it is. If it is, we'll talk about that in Crypto Talk. But I just
define in your mind what when you say the next Bitcoin, what does that mean to you?
A token or coin that could reach 65,000, 75,000, because it has only so many that are in circulation or that will be ever made.
My personal belief is that Bitcoin will continue to be the granddaddy of them all as far as the actual value of each coin itself. However, I do believe there will be a number of coins that people getting involved in crypto today will make a whole lot more money with.
Okay. Do you think they exist already?
Excuse me?
Do you think they exist already?
To be able to make more, yes, there will be more, but there are coins that I believe, and look at it from this perspective. And you hear Brandon say this all the time. Becoming a Bitcoin millionaire is going to be extremely hard for the average person.
Yeah.
For the average person, it's going to be extremely hard because unless you have $66,000, $67,000 to go buy one whole Bitcoin right now, and then sit there and hold it,
right?
And then sit there and hold it until one day it becomes worth $1 million. You're not going to become a Bitcoin millionaire. But there are coins that you can go and invest $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in and have a good potential of getting there before you would ever see Bitcoin get there.
Okay. All right.
Now,
Brandon, thank you for that, Mr.
That being said, learning a small skill set that allows you to take a coin and peel profits off and ride the waves of the market, because I'm one of those people that I think we're a long way away from Bitcoin becoming $1 million coin. Years before that'll happen. However, we're going to see, as it continues this upward trajectory, not investment advice, just my personal opinion, we're going to see some huge swings in the market. And for those that are able to determine when to sell and when to buy with those ebbs and flows, or have a system in place to catch those ebbs and flows along the way, will accumulate more of the asset itself. So you may be able to go and buy a quarter of a Bitcoin right now. You may be able to go there's people that can go put, $15,000, whatever, $20,000 into Bitcoin. And if they're able to have that increase 30%, sell it, wait for the market to come back down, and then buy back in, they have that much more Bitcoin.
Right.
And continue that process, they can build their way to a whole Bitcoin while it's making its way to $1 million. And then in that scenario, they became a Bitcoin millionaire. The average person doesn't have the patience to do that.
True that.
Or can they comfortably do without that money long enough for that to happen?
That part.
That part.
When they get to $500,000, starting to cash out. 100,000, they cashing out.
Yeah. So Brandon, what do you think? You think that's a possibility that there is a token or a coin that could exceed Bitcoin where it is today? And if it is it already on the market? I saw what Leonard's input was, and so I set myself up.
Yeah, value, absolutely. Well, there's never going to be another Bitcoin. Bitcoin is always going to be Bitcoin. It's always going to be the digital gold in this space. It's always going to have the largest market cap. I don't believe there will be. And people are saying that Ethereum might be able to catch up to Bitcoin as far as market dominance, but I don't believe so. As far as a coin being worth more than Bitcoin, yeah, I mean, it's already happened in the past. There was a coin called YFI that had more value than Bitcoin did, only because there was only 100,000 on the market. So because of that least amount, if it's got a lesser amount, it's possible for the value of it to be higher than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's got 21 million. So I don't believe there's going to be any token that has more than 21 million that will be valued more than Bitcoin. But there may be a couple of tokens that has a value, a volume of less than 21 million that could possibly get higher than Bitcoin one day. What Herschel said at the very beginning, do most people even know the difference between a coin or a token? We're also going to have to know the difference between a decentralized coin and a centralized coin, one that is controlled by the government and one that's Bitcoin. The public won't know the difference. So when the government comes out with a CBDC, And then all of a sudden the CBDC, they said, well, now this is backed by something. It's a crypto coin that's got $200 trillion behind it. No, that's a digital coin, not a crypto coin. But the government will play on people's ignorance and will state this has more value than Bitcoin and it's brand new. We just launched it. And you're going to have the people running around saying, yeah, this is the new Bitcoin. It's better than Bitcoin. It's worth more than Bitcoin. You're going to have that. So that's why education is so important. So you know the difference. But nah, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Okay, thank you for that. That was question one. Question two. So we spoke about Satoshis and knowing what a Satoshi is. So how would you compare a Satoshi to a Bitcoin ETF? And do you think that it's worthwhile to have a Bitcoin ETF? Do you see any value in getting an ETF versus going to the exchanges directly?
You want to take that, Herschel?
Sure. You say, what is the difference between a Satoshi and an ETF?
A Bitcoin ETF.
All right. It would be like saying, what's the difference between a mutual fund and a dime?
So that's the
So
difference.
they're not even in the
Things.
same
Because
category.
they're funds, because it's a fund. But with the
Satoshi-
ETF, you can buy a portion of a fund. That's how I mean the comparison of it, meaning that you can buy a certain denomination in fund.
Right, just like you can invest a certain amount into a mutual fund. Same thing.
Correct. And
But you're doing it in dollars.
Right, but
You're doing it in dollars, whether it's $100 or put $100 bill in it or 320s.
Okay.
So Satoshis are just a fraction. Anything less than a whole Bitcoin is a Satoshi. It's a fraction of a Bitcoin. It's like
Correct.
change.
And
Right.
an ETF is a fraction of something because it's a part of a mutual fund. It's a fund is a.
It can be a fraction of something. So
that's the comparison I'm asking.
got you. So I'm trying to say, maybe I'm not understanding the question.
So maybe I should ask you,
Okay.
is it more advantageous to invest in a Bitcoin ETF or directly into Bitcoin? And why would it be to do either one?
I would say it depends on the person themselves, their education level, and whether or not they're willing to take responsibility of their own assets. Because the way I look at them, Brandon may look at this differently, but I look at it from the standpoint of, would you rather have someone else control your asset, or would you prefer to control your asset? If you purchase or invest in an ETF, yes, you are getting access to the profits that could come from you having your money invested in Bitcoin. And if it go wherever you buy it at, and if the market goes up, if you sell, you can get, your piece minus whatever fees whomever you is managing it for you is charging, right?
Right.
But you don't own the Bitcoin. They can say or come up with a scenario by which, no, you can't withdraw right now. If you spend the same or invest the same, if you have a decentralized wallet, you purchase the asset directly, sit the asset in that decentralized wallet that only you have the 12-word seed phrase for, you own it and you decide what's going to happen with it. The value increase or decrease is the same. The only difference is you don't have any fees. Correct. So me personally, it's so much easier and worthwhile, because I believe everybody needs to have that level of education anyway, to buy it and store it in your own decentralized wallet.
I agree.
That's just my personal opinion. I
agree. I had, sometimes I'll get notifications of different articles, and that came up. It was a discussion of which road should someone take.
If they don't have a source to get educated in the crypto space, or the desire to go learn crypto, go invest in an ETF. Then you don't have the, I guess, the anxiety of, oh, am I going to lose it or whatever the case is, but it's a false sense of security, if you will, in that you're relying on someone else to do that for you. And you hope that they adhere to, you know, whatever it is that they're telling you that they're going to do.
Right.
Like your bank.
All right. Thank you very much, both of you.
Yeah, I don't have anything much to add to that. It's just, do you want to take the risk, or do you want to not have to take the risk, or do you want to own it yourself? and people like Larry Fink, that's where they make their money, on the fees. Not only are they making money on the fees, but at the end of the day, they own the Bitcoin.
Right.
At the end of the
Sure
day.
do. So they're a win-win.
Exactly. It's a win-win for them.
They're a win-win.
But they are the ones taking the risk, because if Bitcoin goes down, the value of their assets also drop as well. So they're saying, for us taking the risk, we're charging you a fee. So we'll take that risk on your behalf. And then they might have written in the contract that we will make sure that even if the market drops down, we will automatically sell, so you won't lose anything. So they'll say they'll take the loss, and you as the investor won't take the loss, but you're still paying a regular fee to use their services. And that's where they're making their money, because they know even if Bitcoin goes down, it's going to come right back up.
Right.
So it's almost like highway robbery, legalized robbery, what they're doing on an uneducated field, and they know it. So yeah, Herschel answered that well.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Patty, for those questions. That was awesome. And of course, thank you, Mr. Crow and Mr. Ivey. Okay, Demetrius, I see you. The floor is all yours.
Thank you. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say to Herschel, thank you for all the questions at the beginning, because what it does, it's almost like a quiz. As he's stating those questions, you're asking yourself, how much of this do I really know? How many of these can I answer? And then I think when he talked about, once you understand those basics, that everything else will, come together. I do believe that in just talking to Herschel about different, whenever he talks to you, he always has a question for you, or make sure that you're understanding why you're asking what you're asking, which I think is helpful in learning. So for me, the questions I have to, as he was saying them, I was thinking to myself, okay, well, do I know that? And I can see why I'm challenged in some areas as he was asking those questions. So I just wanted to say thank you to that. And Herschel, I will definitely be digging into those questions for myself, just so I can learn more. Because every time we do talk, I love the questions. I may not be able to answer them all or get them, or at least it does allow me to think. And it is opening me up a little bit more to get more educated than just listening. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And one thing I just want to, that I talked about a little bit earlier, is setting goals. I left off one little thing, which still kind of falls in that category. And it's not being afraid to take profit. It goes back to that greed thing. And he's not, I won't call any names, but week before last, had a good conversation with a gentleman, part of the community, who had invested in a project about, let's just say, a little shy of $10,000, and then invested about $750 in a coin. And in 4 days, his $750 had turned into a little shy of $7,000 in 4 days. And we were on the phone talking on a Saturday afternoon. And what he was saying was, because he was in chat groups and they were telling him that, hey, look, this coin should go to such and such and such and such. And I'm just sitting once he told me what was in his account and what he had invested, it was almost like I didn't hear nothing else he said. Because I'm like, you're telling me that you're waiting to take any profit because somebody in a Telegram chat is saying that it should be going to X, Y, and Z number. And it just didn't compute with me before he could get to house money. And I'm like, you at house money 6 times over already, 7 times over, 8 times over. He was well into profit, okay? And I'm sitting here like, why won't you take it? Fortunately, while we were on the phone, I was able to get him to actually he took profit plus $200. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, how else can I articulate this to make it make sense? To take your money, leave what you invested. Okay, leave the $750 in there. Take $6,000 out. Take half of it out. And because I know you're invested in other things, that's how you diversify. That's how you secure the bag. That's how you secure the bag. And as I'm explaining this to him, literally in real time, 15 minutes later, we're $1,000 less.
Ooh.
While we're talking, I'll be precise, $840 less in 15 minutes down to the downside. And it continued to go down. And since then, it has kind of bounced up and down in that same little area. And who knows if it will ever go back up or not. So never be afraid to secure the bag, which goes back to the other point that I was saying. What is your goal? What are you trying to achieve? It can't just be a blank check. I want all of it. Well, what is all of it? It has to stop somewhere. You can always regroup and readjust your goal, but set some stages or something in there, because when you do, that helps you determine not only what you're getting in, but when to get out of what you're in. Achieve your goal, reset, get to the point to where all the initial capital that you've put into the crypto space, you have recouped, put it back in your in cash. So anything you do from that point forward, you can never lose in crypto. You can never lose if you put it back in your pocket. And then build off of that. But you got to take profit. You got to take profit. You can put it, that doesn't mean you can't put it back into crypto somewhere. But with your education, you're going to figure out what those conservative money makers are that's just going to keep ticking, like the Energizer Bunny, like Bitcoin, for example. Take it, put it in Bitcoin. Yes, it's going to go up and it's going to go down. But we all know over time, the trajectory is continuing to go up. I'm not telling you to invest in Bitcoin. I'm not a financial advisor. Just using that as a teaching example before somebody go put it in Bitcoin and go to 50,000 tomorrow and say I was wrong. No, I'm not saying that. Bitcoin is going to 50,000 though. But anyway, that's what I would be looking to buy. That's just me. But but just want to put that in there. Don't be afraid to take profit.
Oh, is that it, Demetrius? Did you have another question? Mr.
No, that was
Taylor?
it. No, that was it. No,
Thank
thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, did you have your hand up earlier? No? Okay. Is there anyone else? All right, back to you, Mr. Ivey.
All right. Well, thank you guys for another wonderful night. Our day 1 of the 5-day challenge. We went back to the basics. Tomorrow night, we're going to be covering what is blockchain technology. There is no Bitcoin without blockchain technology. 90% of people in crypto right now don't know what blockchain technology is. They can tell you maybe Bitcoin and a little bit of stuff, but they don't know blockchain technology. So that is what's transforming the world, not Bitcoin itself. The technology is what's transforming the world. So we will be back tomorrow. Thank you guys for attending with us tonight Also, Mr. Crow for leading us off as our panelist. Tomorrow night, we have Mr. Prelvis Lofties will be our panelist for tomorrow night, covering blockchain technology. We've got crypto talk first thing tomorrow morning, and we'll keep it going. And those of you on Facebook, we invite you, make sure, remember, if you are not watching me right now from the 5-Day Challenge Facebook group, you're not going to be able to see us tomorrow, only from that group, or become a VIP member and hop on Zoom with us right here. So enjoy that, everybody. I'm going to go rest. It's been a very, very, very long day, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Take care. Brandon Ivey out. Bye-bye.